You're useless. You can't be relied on, my son-in-law yelled after I burned the turkey on Thanksgiving. The guest froze, but I smiled, stood up, and replied, Then why do you rely on me when you need money? What he did next made me call 911. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The oven door swung open with a metallic screech. Black smoke billowed out in thick clouds, carrying the acrid stench of charred meat and burned stuffing. I pulled the turkey out with trembling oven mitts. The bird's skin cracked and blackened beyond recognition. The smoke alarm shrieked overhead. What the hell is that? Jonah's voice cut through the kitchen from the doorway. Behind him, Emma, Fred, and Sarah stood frozen, their faces shifting from holiday anticipation to horror. The destroyed turkey sat on the counter like evidence of some terrible crime. I fell asleep, I said quietly, setting down the ruined bird. My phone died. I'm sorry. Sorry? Jonah stepped closer, his face flushing red. Sorry doesn't fix Thanksgiving, Willard. 24 people are coming here in 2 hours. Priscilla appeared beside him, her hand flying to her mouth. Dad? Oh no. The guests? They're already starting to arrive. I can drive to the store, I offered. Maybe they have pre-cooked turkeys, or we could drive to the store. Jonah's laugh was sharp, bitter. On Thanksgiving afternoon, everything's closed, you senile old man, Emma gasped. Fred stepped forward, his face darkening. Now wait, just a minute. But Jonah wasn't finished. He grabbed the turkey by its charred leg and hurled it toward the trash can. It missed, splattering grease across the kitchen floor. This is exactly what I should have expected from you. Absolutely nothing you touch works out right. Jonah, please. Priscilla reached for his arm, but he shook her off. No, Pris. I'm done pretending this man is reliable. Look at this mess. Look at what he's done to our holiday. I stood perfectly still, absorbing each word like physical blows. The smoke continued to pour from the open oven, but nobody moved to turn it off. Sarah covered her mouth with both hands. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I said I was sorry, I repeated, my voice steady despite the humiliation burning in my chest. I'll find a solution. There has to be something. Solutions? Jonah spun around to face me fully. You think throwing money at problems fixes everything, don't you? Well, this time your checkbook can't save the day. The kitchen fell silent except for the persistent smoke alarm. Fred finally reached over and turned off the oven, but the damage was done. The smell of failure hung in the air like an accusation. That's enough, Emma said firmly, but Jonah ignored her. You know what your problem is, Willard. You promise things you can't deliver. You act like some kind of hero, but when it actually matters, when people are counting on you, you fall asleep on the job. His words hit something deep in my memory. All those times he'd called me reliable, dependable, his savior. All those crisis phone calls when he needed money, needed help, needed someone to bail him out of another financial disaster. The hypocrisy of his accusations struck me like lightning. Reliable? The word came out quieter than I intended, but it carried weight. You want to talk about reliable, Jonah? Reliable? The word echoed in my mind as I stared at Jonah's furious face. Suddenly I wasn't standing in the smoky kitchen anymore. I was back in my small apartment in 2019, watching Jonah pace my living room with tears in his eyes. I don't know what else to do, Willard. The bank says we need $15,000 down by Friday, or we lose the house. Priscilla doesn't know how bad it is. The kids... His voice had cracked then, all his pride stripped away. I'd written the check without hesitation. $15,000 from my modest savings, handed over with no contract, no timeline for repayment, just trust between family members. I'll never forget this, he'd promised, gripping my hand. You're saving our whole future. But he had forgotten. 2 years later, he was back. It's Tommy's tuition, he'd explained over coffee at the diner near his office. $8,000 for the spring semester. His scholarship fell through, and if we can't pay by Monday, he'll have to drop out. Again I'd said yes. My grandson's education was worth any sacrifice. The money came from my retirement fund this time. But what did an old man like me need with luxuries? Dad, you're a lifesaver, Priscilla had called to thank me. Jonah says you're the most generous man he knows. The most generous man he knew, right until his car broke down in 2022. The transmission is shot, he'd said over the phone, calling from the mechanic's shop. They want $3,500 to fix it, and I need the car for work. I'm desperate here, Willard. Desperate. That word came up a lot in Jonah's vocabulary when he needed something. I'd driven straight to the shop and paid cash, watching relief flood his face like sunlight after a storm. You always come through, he'd said, pumping my hand. I don't deserve a father-in-law like you. No, he probably didn't. The worst was last winter. Priscilla's surgery, the one her insurance only partially covered. $12,000 in medical bills that Jonah couldn't handle on top of his other debts. I'd met him at the hospital billing office, pulling money from my dwindling retirement account while Priscilla recovered upstairs. He'd cried then, real tears of gratitude and shame. I'll pay you back, he'd whispered. Every penny. I swear on my children's lives. But the promises were like smoke, visible for a moment, then gone. There were smaller things too. $200 for groceries when his paycheck was late, $500 for the heating bill in February, $300 when the washing machine died. Just until payday, he'd say. You know I'm good for it. Over 5 years, the small favors added up to more than $40,000. I'd kept a quiet mental tally, not because I expected repayment, but because I wanted to remember what family meant to me, even when it clearly didn't mean the same to him. Now here he stood, screaming about reliability in front of our extended family, acting like I'd never done anything but disappoint him, as if the turkey was the only thing that mattered, the only measure of my worth. The flashback shattered. I was back in the smoky kitchen, facing Jonah's accusing stare. Yes, I said, my voice stronger now. Let's talk about reliable. 8 hours earlier, the November morning had been perfect. Frost sparkled on car windshields throughout the suburban neighborhood as I drove through the empty streets at 9 a.m. Holiday decorations hung from every porch, and the smell of wood smoke from fireplaces drifted through my open window. The Thompson house looked welcoming from the outside. Warm light glowed in the kitchen windows, and I could see Priscilla moving around inside, already busy with preparations. She met me at the door with a coffee mug and a grateful smile. Dad, you're wonderful for doing this. Having you watch the turkey means I can handle everything else without panic. The kitchen buzzed with organized energy. Casserole dishes lined the counters, ingredients sorted into neat groups. The 18-pound turkey sat thawing in a roasting pan, ready for seasoning and cooking. Morning, Willard. Jonah appeared in the doorway, tie loosened, coffee in hand. His greeting was polite but cool. Hope everything goes smoothly this time. I ignored the subtle jab. It will. What time do the guests arrive? 5:30, Priscilla answered, pulling herbs from the refrigerator. That gives us plenty of time. The turkey needs to go in at 2:30, cook for 3 hours at 3:50. She walked me through the process, step by step. Herb seasoning rubbed under the skin, butter brushed over the top, aluminum foil tent for the first 2 hours. I listened carefully, nodding at each instruction. Set your phone alarm for exactly 30 minutes before you need to flip it, she said. Dad, this is crucial. The timing has to be perfect. I pulled out my phone and set the alarm. The battery showed 23%, but that would be plenty for a few hours. Turkey, 30 minutes, I typed into the reminder. Jonah lingered in the kitchen doorway, checking his own phone. I've got some work calls to make, then I need to run a few errands. You'll be okay here alone, right? There it was again, that hint of doubt disguised as concern. I'd been cooking holiday meals since before he was born, but somehow Jonah always found ways to question my capabilities. He'll be fine, Priscilla said firmly. Dad's made more Thanksgiving dinners than both of us combined. She was right. 40 years of marriage to my late wife had taught me every holiday tradition, every cooking technique needed for a perfect meal. This turkey would be no different. I should start the stuffing prep, Priscilla continued, tying an apron around her waist. Dad, you just focus on the turkey. Nothing else matters as much as getting that bird perfect. We worked together in comfortable silence, her hands moving efficiently through vegetable chopping, while I prepared the turkey seasoning. These moments reminded me why family mattered. The quiet cooperation, the shared purpose, the knowledge that we were creating something special together. Jonah reappeared an hour later, dressed for his errands. Pris, I'm heading out. Need anything from town? Just be back by 4, she called without looking up from her mixing bowl. I want time to get ready before guests arrive. He kissed her cheek and headed for the garage, leaving us to our preparations. The house felt more peaceful without his restless energy. "He's stressed about work," Priscilla said quietly, as if reading my thoughts. "The company's been making cuts. He's worried about his job." I nodded, understanding but not excusing his behavior. Financial pressure was no reason to treat family poorly, especially family members who'd helped shoulder his burdens for years. By noon, the turkey was seasoned and ready. The oven preheated perfectly to 350 degrees. My phone alarm was set, battery still showing enough charge for the afternoon. "I need to run to the store," Priscilla said, untying her apron. "Forgot cranberry sauce completely. Can you believe it?" She gave me final instructions about the turkey timing, then gathered her purse and keys. "Exactly 30 minutes, Dad. Set your timer and don't let anything distract you." "I won't," I promised, walking her to the door. "Take your time. Everything's under control here." The house fell quiet after she left. Jonah was still out on his errands, and I had the place to myself. I settled into the comfortable living room chair, phone within easy reach, feeling satisfied with the morning's work. This was what I lived for: being useful, being needed, being part of something important. The turkey would be perfect. The family would gather, and for one evening all the small resentments and financial tensions would disappear behind shared gratitude and tradition. I closed my eyes just for a moment, listening to the peaceful silence of the empty house. 3 o'clock arrived with afternoon sunlight streaming through the living room windows. I checked the oven one final time. Turkey browning beautifully, temperature holding steady at 350 degrees. The bird looked perfect, golden skin beginning to crisp exactly as it should. My phone sat on the side table beside my chair. 23% battery, alarm set for 3:30, 30 minutes to go. "Dad," Priscilla appeared in the kitchen doorway, purse slung over her shoulder, shopping list in hand. "I'm about to leave for cranberry sauce. You're absolutely certain about the timing?" "Absolutely." I stood and walked with her toward the front door. 30 minutes exactly. I've got this, honey." She paused at the door, keys jangling in her hand. "You know what? You're the best father a daughter could ask for. I don't know what I'd do without your help." Her words warmed something deep in my chest. This was why I endured Jonah's subtle digs, why I kept showing up despite the coolness. Priscilla valued me, needed me, trusted me with the most important parts of their family traditions. "It's my pleasure," I said simply. "Drive safely." Jonah's car pulled into the driveway just as Priscilla backed out. He waved at her through his windshield, then climbed out carrying a small hardware store bag, his errands apparently complete. "How's everything going in there?" he asked, nodding toward the house. "Perfect. Turkey's right on schedule." He nodded, but I caught something in his expression, a flicker of doubt, maybe hope that something would go wrong. "Well, I guess we'll see, won't we?" "Yes, we will." I kept my voice level, refusing to take the bait. Jonah headed inside, leaving me standing on the front porch. The suburban street stretched quiet in both directions, most neighbors probably deep in their own holiday preparations. A few cars passed, families heading to their own Thanksgiving gatherings. I returned to my chair in the living room. 3:15 now. 15 minutes until the alarm would sound, reminding me to check the turkey's progress. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The house settled into peaceful afternoon quiet. No television noise, no conversation, just the distant hum of the oven and the occasional creak of settling wood. This was the kind of silence I appreciated. Purposeful, not lonely. The silence of a man trusted with important work. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see the oven light glowing steadily. The turkey would be developing that perfect golden brown color by now, skin tightening and crisping while the meat stayed tender underneath. 3 hours of careful cooking would produce the centerpiece everyone expected. My phone showed 3:20. 10 more minutes. Jonah moved around upstairs, probably changing clothes or making those work calls he'd mentioned. I was grateful for his absence. These moments of responsibility felt pure when I didn't have to navigate his passive-aggressive comments or thinly veiled doubts about my capabilities. The afternoon light began to shift, taking on that golden quality that comes before evening. Soon the house would fill with family voices, laughter, the clatter of serving dishes and silverware. Emma would compliment the turkey, Fred would ask for seconds, Sarah would help serve the children. But first, I had to deliver on my promise. 30 minutes exactly, just as Priscilla had instructed. The timer would sound, I'd check the turkey's progress, maybe baste it one more time, then return to my chair to wait for the final hour of cooking. Simple. Straightforward. Exactly the kind of task I'd been handling successfully for decades. 3:25. 5 more minutes. I leaned back in the comfortable chair, feeling the satisfaction that comes from a job being done right. The morning's preparations had gone smoothly. The turkey was cooking perfectly, and in a few hours the whole family would gather around a table I'd helped make possible. This was what reliability looked like. This was what being trustworthy meant. 3:30 approached on the clock across the room. The afternoon warmth crept through the living room like a gentle blanket. I'd been up since 6 a.m., driving across town, lifting the heavy turkey, standing on my feet for hours during the morning preparations. The comfortable chair cradled my tired body perfectly. My eyes grew heavy. Just a brief rest, I told myself. The alarm would wake me in 30 minutes. Plenty of time to check the turkey, make any needed adjustments, then wait for the final cooking phase. The house hummed quietly around me. Oven working steadily, refrigerator cycling on and off, the subtle sounds of a home functioning exactly as it should. My breathing deepened. The phone sat securely on the side table. Timer set, everything under control. 3:45 came and went. 4 o'clock passed silently. My phone screen flickered once, twice, then went completely dark as the battery finally died. No alarm, no vibration, nothing. In the kitchen, the turkey continued cooking. Golden brown shifted to dark brown. Dark brown became black at the edges. The skin cracked and split, releasing juices that sizzled and burned on the oven floor. 4:30 arrived with the first wisps of smoke curling from the oven vents. The smell began subtle, slightly overcooked meat, a hint of charred stuffing. By 4:45, gray smoke filled the kitchen, drifting into the living room where I slept peacefully, completely unaware. The turkey transformed from holiday centerpiece to disaster. Skin blackened and peeled away from the meat. Stuffing turned to charcoal. The smoke detector should have sounded, but the battery had died months ago. Another small household maintenance item that somehow got overlooked in the rush of daily life. 5 o'clock. The acrid smell finally penetrated my unconscious mind, creeping into dreams that turned dark and confused. Something was wrong. Something was burning. My eyes snapped open. Smoke. Thick, choking smoke filling the living room. The smell hit me like a physical blow. Burned meat, charred stuffing, the unmistakable scent of complete culinary catastrophe. No? 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 I lurched from the chair, legs stiff from sleeping in an awkward position. My phone lay dead on the side table, screen black as the smoke swirling through the house. The realization struck like lightning. How long had I been asleep? The kitchen looked like a war zone. Smoke poured from the oven vents, thick enough to make my eyes water and my throat burn. I grabbed oven mitts and yanked open the oven door. Heat blasted my face. More smoke billowed out in choking clouds. Inside, what had once been a beautiful 18-pound turkey now resembled something pulled from a fire. Black, charred beyond recognition, destroyed. How could I? The words died in my throat. I pulled the ruined bird from the oven, setting it on the stovetop with shaking hands. The metal roasting pan was scorched black underneath. Grease had burned and blackened on the oven floor. The smell was overwhelming, acrid, sharp, the kind of smoke that would linger in fabric and furniture for weeks. Windows. I needed windows open immediately. Racing through the house, I threw open every window I could reach. Cool November air rushed in, but it would take hours to clear the smoke completely. Hours we didn't have. I grabbed my phone, desperately pressing the power button. Nothing. Completely dead. 5 o'clock. Priscilla would return soon. Guests were expected at 5:30. In 30 minutes, the house would fill with family members, expecting a perfect Thanksgiving dinner. And instead, they'd find this: smoke, destruction, and the charred remains of their holiday centerpiece. The turkey was beyond salvation. No amount of scraping or sauce could disguise this level of burning. We needed a replacement immediately. Maybe the grocery store would still have pre-cooked turkeys available. Maybe I could drive fast enough to find something, anything, to salvage the dinner. It was Thanksgiving afternoon, but surely somewhere. Car doors slammed in the driveway. My heart sank. They were back early. Through the front window, I watched Priscilla step out of her car, cranberry sauce bag in hand, smile bright with satisfaction at a successful shopping trip. Behind her, Jonah emerged from his own vehicle, followed by Emma, Fred, and Sarah, all arriving together, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Their cheerful voices carried across the lawn until they reached the front porch. Then silence. "Do you smell that?" Priscilla's voice carried through the door. "Something's burning." I stood frozen in the smoky kitchen, oven mitts still on my hands, the destroyed turkey cooling on the stovetop like evidence of criminal negligence. There was nowhere to hide, no way to minimize what had happened. The front door opened. "Dad!" Priscilla called out, concern replacing her earlier happiness. "What's that smell?" I walked to the kitchen doorway as they filed into the house. Priscilla saw my face first. The guilt, the ash stains on my shirt, the defeat in my posture. Her eyes widened as she took in the haze of smoke still hanging in the air. "Oh, no." The cranberry sauce bag slipped from her fingers. "Dad, what happened?" Emma appeared behind her, face creased with worry. Fred pulled Sarah back a step, both of them taking in the disaster with shocked expressions. Jonah pushed past them all, heading straight for the kitchen. "I fell asleep," I said simply. "My phone died. I'm so sorry." Jonah reached the kitchen first, his face going pale as he saw the blackened turkey. "Jesus Christ, Willard! Look at this!" "Language," Emma scolded automatically, but her heart wasn't in it. Priscilla rushed to the oven, peering at the charred remains of what should have been their perfect holiday centerpiece. "How long were you asleep? How long was it cooking?" "I don't know. An hour? Maybe more." The words felt like confessing to murder. "The battery died. The alarm never went off." "An hour?" Jonah's voice climbed higher. "You overcooked our Thanksgiving turkey by an hour?" Fred stepped forward, practical as always. "Let's get more windows open. Clear this smoke out." He headed for the dining room windows, Sarah following to help. Emma moved to my side, her weathered hand touching my arm gently. "Accidents happen, Willard. Don't blame yourself too harshly." But Priscilla looked stricken, staring at the ruined turkey, as if it represented something much larger than dinner. "The guests will be here in 15 minutes. What are we going to do?" "I'll drive to the store right now," I offered desperately. "Maybe they have something pre-cooked, or—" "On Thanksgiving afternoon?" Jonah laughed bitterly. "Everything's been closed for hours. There's nothing open until tomorrow." The reality settled over us like the lingering smoke. No turkey meant no traditional dinner. No traditional dinner meant a ruined holiday for 24 family members who'd been looking forward to this gathering for weeks. "We could order pizza," Sarah suggested weakly from the dining room. "Pizza," Jonah repeated the word like a curse, "for Thanksgiving, with Emma and Fred and all the cousins coming. Pizza." Priscilla sank into a kitchen chair, her head in her hands. "I should have stayed. I should have checked on you before leaving." "No." I moved toward her, desperate to take responsibility. "This is completely my fault. I promised to watch the turkey and I failed. The phone dying is no excuse. I should have set a backup timer, should have stayed awake." Emma opened more windows while Fred returned from the dining room. "Smoke's clearing a bit," he reported. "House'll air out eventually." "Eventually doesn't help us tonight," Jonah muttered, staring at the blackened bird with disgust. The kitchen fell quiet except for the sound of fresh air flowing through open windows. Everyone seemed to be processing the magnitude of the disaster. Not just the ruined turkey, but the ruined holiday, the disappointed family members, the broken tradition. Priscilla looked up at me, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Dad, I know you didn't mean for this to happen." "But it did happen," Jonah said quietly. His voice carried a dangerous edge, controlled fury barely held in check, just like I knew it would. Jonah's face transformed before my eyes. The polite disappointment melted away, replaced by something darker, more primitive. His jaw clenched tight, his hands curled into fists at his sides. "You worthless old man!" The words exploded from him like gunfire. "You can't do anything right." Emma stepped backward, her hand flying to her chest. Sarah grabbed Fred's arm. Even Priscilla froze, shocked by the venom in her husband's voice. "Jonah, Please, she started. No. He wheeled around to face her, then back to me. I'm sick of this, Pris. I'm sick of pretending your father is some kind of blessing when he's nothing but a burden. The kitchen fell silent except for the sound of windows still open, letting in cold November air that couldn't clear the poisonous atmosphere building between us. Useless. He stepped closer to me, his voice dropping to a menacing growl. Pathetic. Can't be trusted with the simplest task. I stood perfectly still, watching this man reveal himself completely. Years of careful politeness, of barely concealed resentment, finally erupting in front of witnesses. Part of me felt almost relieved. The pretense was finally over. That's enough, Emma said firmly, her voice carrying the authority of age and family position. Jonathan, you're going too far. But Jonah was beyond hearing reason. He grabbed the ruined turkey from where I'd set it on the counter, his face twisting with disgust and rage. This is what we get! He lifted the blackened bird over his head. This is what happens when we trust him with anything important. Don't you dare! I started, but it was too late. He hurled the turkey directly at me. I ducked sideways, the charred bird sailing past my shoulder, to explode against the kitchen wall behind me. Burnt stuffing scattered across the floor. Grease splattered the cabinets. The impact left a dark stain on the white paint. Jonah! Priscilla screamed. What is wrong with you? Fred stepped forward, his face dark with disapproval. That's enough, son. Time to calm down. Calm down? Jonah laughed bitterly. This is Thanksgiving, the most important day of the year for families, and he destroyed it. He pointed at me like I was some kind of criminal. Like he destroys everything he touches. Sarah covered her mouth with both hands, staring at the turkey mess on the wall. Emma moved protectively toward me, her elderly face creased with concern and disgust at Jonah's behavior. I can drive right now, I said quietly, maintaining what dignity I could while turkey grease dripped down the wall. Maybe find another turkey somewhere, or... With what? Jonah's voice climbed higher. Everything's closed. There's nowhere to go. 24 people are coming here expecting dinner, and you've ruined it completely. He advanced on me, backing me toward the kitchen doorway. His face was purple now, veins standing out on his forehead. Spittle flew as he shouted, I'm done pretending to be grateful. Done acting like you're helpful when all you do is cause problems. You can't be relied on for anything. There it was, the accusation that cut deepest, the one that revealed everything I'd suspected about his true feelings. All those years of financial help, all those times he'd called me reliable, dependable, his savior, lies, all of it lies. Get out, he was screaming now, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. This is my house, my family. I don't want your pathetic help anymore. The living room beckoned behind me, more space, but also more formal. The heart of their home where family pictures lined the mantel, where Christmas mornings happened, where grandchildren played. Now it would become a battlefield. Jonah, stop this, Priscilla pleaded, grabbing his arm. He shook her off roughly. If you don't leave right now, he snarled, stepping so close I could smell coffee on his breath, I'll make you leave. I backed into the living room, Jonah advancing like a predator, stalking wounded prey. The family followed reluctantly, Priscilla wringing her hands, Emma clutching Sarah's arm, Fred positioning himself strategically between us. This is my house, Jonah shouted, gesturing wildly at the family photos on the mantel, the comfortable furniture, the traditional Thanksgiving decorations. My family. I don't want to see your pathetic face in here anymore. The living room felt different now, corrupted. This space where children had opened Christmas presents, where birthday parties had been celebrated, where family had gathered for countless happy occasions, now witnessed something ugly and irreversible. Whoa there, Jonah! Fred stepped directly between us, hands raised peacefully but firmly. This is Priscilla's father we're talking about, your children's grandfather. Grandfather? Jonah laughed bitterly. What kind of grandfather ruins his own family's holiday? What kind of man falls asleep when people are counting on him? Emma found her voice, sharp with moral disapproval. Jonathan Thompson, you're acting like a child having a tantrum. This is not who your wife married. Oh, you want to know who she married? Jonah's eyes glittered dangerously. She married someone who's tired of cleaning up after this old man's mistakes. Christmas last year, he forgot to pick up the ham. Easter, the dessert he was supposed to bring never showed up. My birthday party. Stop it, Priscilla whispered, tears starting in her eyes. Just stop. But Jonah was building momentum, years of grievances pouring out like infected wounds finally lancing. He pointed at me accusingly, his finger jabbing dangerously close to my face. Every single time we trust him with anything, disaster. And I'm supposed to be grateful? I'm supposed to pretend he's helping when he's just making everything worse? I remained silent, watching him expose himself completely. Every word revealed more about his character than mine. The guests were seeing it too. Fred's face growing darker, Emma shaking her head sadly, Sarah looking genuinely frightened. Someone needs to teach him there are consequences for his actions. Jonah stepped closer, invading my personal space. Maybe I should show you what useless really means, old man. That's enough. Fred moved between us completely, his broad shoulders blocking Jonah's approach. You're talking about getting physical with a 68-year-old man, in front of your wife, on Thanksgiving. Jonah's face contorted with frustrated rage. Move aside, Fred. This doesn't concern you. It concerns all of us now, Emma said coldly, because you've made it concern us. This is family business, and family doesn't treat family like this. Family? Jonah's voice cracked. What has he ever done for this family except cause problems? He's a burden, a liability. We'd be better off without. Jonah! Priscilla's voice cut through his rant like a whip. Enough! You're talking about my father! He whirled to face her, eyes wild with rage and frustration. Your father, who just ruined Thanksgiving. Your father, who can't be trusted with the simplest responsibility. When are you going to see him for what he really is? The room fell silent, except for Priscilla's quiet sobbing. This wasn't just about a burned turkey anymore. This was about respect, family bonds, fundamental values being shattered in front of everyone. What he really is? I said quietly, my voice cutting through the tension. Everyone turned to look at me. I straightened to my full height, meeting Jonah's furious gaze directly. You want to talk about what someone really is, Jonah? My voice carried a new edge, steel that had been forged through years of suppressed frustration. Let's talk about reliability. Let's talk about who can really be counted on. The room went completely quiet. Even Jonah stopped his ranting, sensing the shift in atmosphere. I stepped forward, no longer the apologetic old man who'd burned the turkey. Years of patience had reached their end. You say I'm unreliable? My voice carried new authority. That nobody can count on me? Then explain something to me, Jonah. Fred stepped aside slightly, recognizing that this confrontation had moved beyond physical threat into something deeper. Emma and Sarah leaned forward, sensing crucial information about to be revealed. If I'm so unreliable, I continued, meeting his eyes directly, why did you count on me so many times? Jonah's face flickered with the first hint of uncertainty. What are you talking about? December 2019. My voice grew stronger. $15,000 for this house down payment. You came to my apartment, desperate. The banks had turned you down. You were crying, Jonah. Actual tears. Priscilla's head snapped up, her eyes widening. She'd known about some help, but not the details. You swore you'd pay me back as soon as you got that promotion. You said I was saving your family's future. Do you remember that conversation? The color began draining from Jonah's face. That's different. Different how? I pressed. April 2021. $8,000 for Tommy's college tuition. You called me from the bursar's office, panicking because his scholarship had fallen through. I used money from my retirement account, Jonah. My retirement. Sarah gasped softly. Emma's eyes narrowed as she began understanding the full picture. You promised to pay me back with interest, I continued relentlessly. Said I was the most generous man you knew. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? Stop, Jonah whispered, but I was far from finished. September 2022. $3,500 when your transmission died. I drove straight to the mechanic's shop and paid cash while you waited. You said I always came through. You said you didn't deserve a father-in-law like me? Priscilla stood frozen, pieces clicking together in her mind. Fred and Sarah exchanged meaningful glances, the financial pattern becoming clear. Last winter, I said, my voice growing quieter, but more powerful. $12,000 for the medical bills your insurance wouldn't cover. I met you at the hospital billing office while Priscilla was recovering upstairs. You cried again, Jonah. Swore on your children's lives you'd pay me back. The living room was utterly silent now. Everyone staring at Jonah, whose aggressive posture had collapsed into something smaller, cornered. Should I continue? I asked. The 200 for groceries when your paycheck was late? The 500 for heating bills? The 300 when the washing machine broke down? All those small favors that you promised were just until payday? Emma's face showed complete understanding now. Fred shook his head slowly, disapproval written across his features. $38,500, Jonah. The number hung in the air like an accusation. Over 5 years. Every time you needed help, every time you were desperate, who did you call? Who was reliable then? Jonah opened his mouth, but no words came out. How much have you paid back? I asked. Not 1 penny. How many times have you said thank you? I'm still waiting. I stepped closer to him now, the power dynamic completely reversed. So tell me again about reliability, Jonah. Tell me again who can't be counted on. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been counting on this worthless old man to save you over and over again. The truth settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Priscilla stared at her husband with new eyes. The guests looked at Jonah with open judgment. And now, I said softly, now you want to throw me out of your house? The house I helped you buy? The silence stretched for heartbeats. Jonah's face cycled through emotions. Shock, denial, rage, then something darker. Desperation. His hands trembled at his sides, his breath coming in short gasps. You think you've won? His voice cracked. You think you can humiliate me in my own house? Jonah, please. Priscilla reached toward him, but he jerked away violently. No, I'll show you who's worthless. He lunged at me with surprising speed for a man his size. I stepped back quickly, hands rising defensively, but his momentum carried him forward. His fist swung toward my face, missing by inches as I ducked sideways. Stop! Priscilla screamed. Emma gasped, pressing back against the wall. Sarah grabbed Fred's arm as he stepped forward, ready to intervene. Jonah stumbled past me, spinning around with wild eyes. Fight me, old man! Let's see how reliable you are when it counts. I'm not fighting you, I said calmly, continuing to back away. You're upset. We can talk about this. Talk. He swung again, this time catching my shoulder with a glancing blow that sent me stumbling toward the dining room. I'm done talking. Done pretending you matter. The coffee table caught my legs. I went down hard, Jonah looming over me with raised fists. Fred rushed forward, grabbing Jonah's arms from behind. That's enough! Fred's voice boomed with authority. You've lost your mind. Jonah struggled against his brother's grip, elbowing backward, trying to break free. Let me go. He destroyed my life. He destroyed everything. Get back! Emma shepherded Sarah toward the front door. He's completely lost control. I rolled away from the coffee table, getting to my feet carefully. My shoulder throbbed where Jonah's fist had connected, but nothing felt broken. Around us, the living room had transformed into chaos. Overturned magazines, a lamp knocked askew, the comfortable family space now a crime scene. You ruined my marriage, Jonah screamed, still fighting Fred's restraint. Turned my wife against me, made me look like a fool. You did that yourself, I said quietly, backing toward the kitchen. He broke free from Fred's grip with a surge of desperate strength, charging after me again. I'll kill you. Do you hear me? I'll kill you for this. The kitchen loomed behind me. Knife block on the counter. Dangerous territory. Jonah's eyes fixed on the same target, his face twisted with murderous rage. Jonah, there are children in this neighborhood, Priscilla pleaded, tears streaming down her face. What's wrong with you? Fred grabbed him again, this time getting a better hold. Brother or not, I won't let you hurt an innocent man. I reached the counter, my hand finding my phone where I'd left it hours ago. The screen showed enough battery for what I needed to do. This had gone beyond family dispute into genuine violence. He's not innocent, Jonah writhed against Fred's grip. He's a manipulator, a user. He planned this whole thing. Planned burning the turkey, Sarah called from the doorway. Planned you losing your temper? Listen to yourself. My fingers found 911 on the keypad, 3 simple numbers that would bring official help, formal consequences, an end to this nightmare. What are you doing? Jonah's eyes fixed on my phone with panic. Put that down. 911 emergency. The operator's voice came through clearly. What's your emergency? I need police at 1247 Maple Street, I said calmly, despite the chaos around me. Domestic violence. My son-in-law is attacking me. There are witnesses. No! Jonah's scream echoed through the house. 5 minutes felt like hours. Fred kept Jonah pinned against the kitchen counter, while I stayed on the line with dispatch. Priscilla paced the living room, wringing her hands. Emma and Sarah huddled near the front window, watching for squad cars. I can see them coming, Sarah announced. Red and blue lights flashed across the house, painting the holiday decorations in official colors. Car doors slammed. Heavy footsteps approached the front door. Police department! Open up! Emma unlocked the door quickly. 2 officers stepped inside, a tall woman with graying hair and a younger man built like a linebacker. Their eyes swept the scene professionally. Overturned furniture, frightened family members, obvious signs of struggle. I'm Officer Martinez, the woman said. Who called 911? I raised my hand. Willard Ross. That's my son-in-law there. He physically attacked me after a family argument. Is anyone injured? Officer Martinez approached me, noting my torn shirt and the red mark on my shoulder. Minor bruising, nothing requiring medical attention. The male officer moved toward Fred and Jonah. Sir, I need you to step away from him. Fred released his grip reluctantly. Officer, this man attacked his elderly father-in-law. I had to restrain him to prevent serious injury. Jonah straightened his clothing, trying to regain composure. This is all a misunderstanding. Family disagreement that got out of hand. Attempted assault isn't a misunderstanding, Martinez said firmly. She turned to me. Tell me exactly what happened. I spoke calmly, methodically. We had a disagreement about a ruined turkey dinner. I revealed that my son-in-law owes me over $38,000 in unpaid loans. He became enraged and physically attacked me, threatening to kill me. These family members witnessed everything. Martinez took notes while scanning the room. How many witnesses? 4. Fred stepped forward. I'm Fred Thompson, his brother. I watched Jonah throw food, then lunge at Willard with intent to cause harm. Emma found her voice. I'm Emma Ross, Willard's sister. I saw the entire incident. Jonah completely lost control. Sarah nodded agreement. Sarah Mitchell. The violence started after Willard mentioned money Jonah borrowed, but never repaid. The second officer approached Priscilla, who stood torn between loyalty and truth. Ma'am, you witnessed this incident? She looked at her husband, then her father, tears flowing freely. Yes, my husband. He attacked my father, threatened to hurt him. I've never seen him like this before. Jonah's face crumpled as his wife's testimony sealed his fate. Priscilla, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, she said quietly. My father has been supporting our family for years, and you repaid his kindness with violence. Officer Martinez addressed the room. I need to speak with each witness separately. But first, she turned to Jonah. Sir, based on multiple witness statements, I'm placing you under citation for domestic assault. This is ridiculous, Jonah protested. He provoked me, humiliated me in front of my family. Emotional provocation doesn't justify physical violence, Martinez replied firmly. She produced a citation book. You have the right to contest this in court, but the evidence and witness testimony are clear. The younger officer photographed the overturned furniture, my torn shirt, the evidence of struggle throughout the living room and kitchen. What happens now? Priscilla asked quietly. Your husband receives an official citation. If he commits any further acts of violence or harassment against Mr. Ross, he'll face arrest and formal charges. This incident is now part of the official record. I watched Jonah's face as the reality settled in. Official consequences, legal documentation. No longer just family business, but criminal behavior on his permanent record. Martinez handed me a card. Mr. Ross, you have the right to pursue a restraining order if you feel unsafe. Given the age difference and violent threats, the court would likely approve protective measures. That won't be necessary, I said, meeting Jonah's eyes, as long as this behavior never happens again. The officer completed her paperwork, while family members processed what had just occurred. Official intervention, truth documented, justice served through proper channels. We're finished here, Martinez announced. Mr. Thompson, any future incidents will result in immediate arrest. The citation requires a court appearance within 30 days. As the officers prepared to leave, Jonah stood isolated in his own kitchen, facing the consequences of 5 years of ingratitude, culminating in violence. The police cars pulled away, leaving the family in stunned silence. Jonah stood alone by the kitchen counter, the citation clutched in his trembling hand. The official document represented more than legal consequences. It marked the complete collapse of his victim narrative. "Dad," Priscilla approached me carefully, her voice thick with emotion. "I had no idea how much you've sacrificed for us. $38,000, and I never even knew." Emma placed her weathered hand on my arm. "Willard, you handled this entire situation with such dignity. A lesser man would have pressed full charges." Fred nodded approvingly. "You're a better man than I would have been in your position, showing mercy after what he put you through." Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. "The way you stayed calm during that attack, that shows real character." I looked around the room, at the overturned furniture, the remnants of our ruined Thanksgiving, the family members who now understood the complete truth. Despite everything, we were still together. "What matters is keeping our family intact," I said simply. "Jonah made mistakes, but destroying him won't solve anything." Jonah finally found his voice, barely above a whisper. I don't know how to repay you. The money, yes, but also," he gestured helplessly at the chaos around us, "this, what I've done." "You can start by acknowledging the truth," I replied, "and by making sure this violence never happens again." Priscilla moved to stand beside me, her choice clear. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have seen what was happening, should have recognized how much you were giving." "You have your own family to worry about," I assured her. "That's how it should be." Fred surveyed the disheveled living room. "Well, we still have a Thanksgiving dinner to figure out. Can't let one man's tantrum ruin the whole holiday." Emma smiled for the first time in hours. "I know a restaurant that delivers traditional dinners. Expensive, but worth it under the circumstances." "I'll pay for it," Jonah said quickly, then caught himself. "I mean, if I can use a credit card, since I don't actually have cash available." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Sarah actually chuckled. "At least you're being honest now." Within an hour, the house had been straightened, the furniture rearranged, and delivery drivers had brought a complete Thanksgiving feast. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, all the traditional dishes that should have graced our table hours ago. As we gathered around the dining room table, the family looked different than it had that morning. Relationships had shifted. Truth had been revealed. Consequences had been faced. But we were still family. "I'd like to say something," Priscilla announced, raising her water glass. "Today I learned that my father is not just reliable. He's extraordinary. His generosity, his patience, his dignity under pressure. Dad, thank you for everything you've sacrificed for us." "To Willard," Emma added, lifting her glass, "the most generous man any of us know." Fred joined the toast. "To integrity and family." Even Jonah raised his glass, though his voice cracked as he spoke. To second chances, and to the man who gave me more of them than I deserved." As we began eating the restaurant-prepared meal, I felt a satisfaction deeper than any turkey I'd ever cooked could have provided. Not because I'd won some battle, but because truth had prevailed. Justice had been served, not through revenge, but through consequences and recognition. The borrowed Thanksgiving dinner tasted perfect. Around the table sat family members who now understood the real meaning of gratitude, sacrifice, and reliability. Sometimes the most important victories aren't the ones where you defeat your enemies, but the ones where you maintain your character while the truth reveals itself. I was still the man who'd burned the turkey, but I was also the man who'd kept his family together through crisis, maintained his dignity under attack, and chosen mercy when justice was in his power. That felt like the most reliable thing I'd ever done. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.